Vestal.
I'm gonna let my wife.
He's gonna let his wife do it. That's the reason he brought me back. Now, I'm seeing it all now. Well, we're delighted to have our stockbroker, Gary Vestal, to talk to you today. And, you know, if you go to people's offices that they have, they decorate them in different ways. And Gary's is outstanding. Steve Stewart has an outstanding office. If you haven't been to Steve's office, go there because it's fun to see, and Gary's is the same. So you're going to have some people come and say, I want to see the office.
Well, last week, Bill called me and said, I'd like you to be on my program. And I was like, absolutely. When is it? Tuesday. So I will, we're just going to somewhat have an open forum today, a little kind of talk about some of the things that are going on. Today is an election day, so I thought it was appropriate to show you a little election fact. I put it on everyone's desk. Don't worry, we're not going to talk about mutual funds. We're not going to talk about anything of sales related, but it is interesting to look at history in a factual way and not just in a speculative way. But before I start a little presentation, talk about my occupation, I just want to tell you that about 10 days ago that I volunteered to do the dictionary giveaway to the third graders again. I'd done it when we first started the program. That was probably 18, 20 years ago. I was one of the first people to put stickers on it and stuff it. And Sue Williams was very inspirational about that, and that we obviously it started with the literacy bee of helping educate our GED needing adults, and then we spun it to help the kids, and those kids were so appreciative. I had forgotten that they listened to every word, Pete kindly gave me a speech that I read once and then made it my own, but they hung on every word. They were so thankful. I got hugs. No one spoke out of turn. And if you have not had the ability to, or the time to help that once a year that we give those dictionaries, do it. It'll open your heart. Okay. I was busy that week. I went to go see the Texas A&M beat Mississippi State, and I went to go. I have 3 daughters attending Texas A&M at the present time, and so I got to take all their friends out to eat, and it was an awful morning game, so that means I had to buy everybody lunch the following day after our win, and had a great visit. I'd also signed up to do another voluntary work with my company. I've worked for Edward Jones. This is my 27th year. I've been in Gilmer 26 of those years. And I've been blessed to have a thriving office. A lot of people might not know where Gilmer, Texas is in this old world, but we try to put Gilmer, Texas on the map. And me and my assistant, Donna Johnson, I think we've done a pretty good job. And so anyway, the firm, about a decade ago, decided that they wanted to start a new coaching program that was completely different than any type of coaching program that's ever existed in our firm before. And it is called the Ted Jones coaching program. And so I am a Ted Jones coach. And everything with Edward Jones is all about passing tests, do what I say do. This is how you do it. Rehearse it again, and this is how you answer. And takes what I call a coaching position, a teaching position. That is not what the Ted Jones program is. The Ted Jones program is saying that we want some of their nickname, not mine, some of our super vets, the top 10% of the firm. We want to call on a few of them to shed light on some people that are somewhere in the middle of their career, somewhere between year 4 and year 8, that seems to be kind of at a stopping spot in their career. That they've taken a pause. They've been singled out by the regional leaders to be of high potential leaders of the firm, but they just might need a little bit of assistance. I volunteered to be part of that. I've done it 2 other times. Took a little break, and I decided not to do it again this year. And we had a meeting. Went from Texas A&M home and then back to the Gaylord Texan for a 6 o'clock meeting. The following morning, anybody who knows me knows that I am nowhere to be found at 6 o'clock in the morning. I am not a morning person. You can find me at 9:30 maybe. And, but I find it inspiring to say that it is hard to coach people at first thought on not telling them what to do. If you've ever thought about it, and that's why I wanted to mention it a little bit today, I'm just saying that all of you have employees or have had employees. How do you inspire and motivate people without telling them what to do? Now, I just find it interesting to be able to, that they have mapped out a formula to create inspiration and motivation, and literally, in a nutshell, getting people to say what their motivation is, what they're trying to do. And a lot of people in today's world especially, boy, they use big words, don't they? They use inspiring words of wisdom. And it basically, and I'm going to thumb across until I find my example. So pardon me for looking down. It's all the way back here. Somebody wrote a beautiful piece. And we asked Neighbor Jones person what was their vision statement. And I'm not going to read it all. It's well over a paragraph. But the opening line was to provide clients with a high level of financial services and diversification solutions that meet the client's needs on focusing for their long-term goals. And that sounded wonderful. Sounded like an English grad wrote that. The key is that it didn't mean anything. We're literally going to dissect that person's words. He says, well, what do you mean by high level? Do you give someone low level?
Speak into the mic here.
All right.
Thank you.
Then we say words like focusing on their long term. What do you mean by focusing on long term? Literally start naming the details. Quit giving me fancy words and name what you want to do. It goes on and on. But in a nutshell, that is how you inspire people. You inspire people by listening to them, thoroughly listening to them. Listen to them and then ask questions and then listen to them more. And then say, this is what I heard. Oh, that's not what you really meant? What did you really mean? And, I don't know, to be honest, I'm 50 years old. You go from being coached all your life to coaching all your life. Coaching typically means mentoring. It means being a role model. It means giving them direction, giving them examples. And just this whole frame of education that although when I started with the Ted Jones program about 8 years ago, there was about 100 of us. At the meeting in Dallas, I was one of 600 people. We tutor 2 people for 6 months and then let them be, and then we watch their statistics. Most of them, 85% of them, hit their all-time high in the next 12 months, which it's not all about that, but it gives you a warm feeling to see people grow that might not have been in a growing situation. And so with that, I just want to kind of share that to listen to your employees. If you want a better employee, you've been hitting your head against the wall of how to make them do exactly what you say do, why don't you flip it around a little bit? If you were doing it, what would you do different? Why? This is what I heard. And try those in your life. Maybe it'll help, maybe it's not, but it's worth thinking about. Today is election day. A lot of people will ask about, oh my goodness, if my candidate does not win, everything's going to go, quote unquote, down the handbasket. What should I do? For starters, market has been doing quite well this year. As of Monday, every index was up more than 17%. International, the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, it is up again today. In our opinion, as far as what we physically see, we think the economy is doing quite well. We think it will continue to do quite well. That the Fed has been cutting rates this year versus last year. They were raising rates, and we saw a stock market correction about this time last year. The Fed has not only cut rates several times, they may be in a pausing situation, but now we see the Fed is actually buying treasury bills. The reason that they're probably going to be doing this, and at the present time they're doing 60 billion per month, infusing it into the treasury system, because over the last couple of months people were talking about an inverted yield curve, and that people were scared of an inverted yield curve, of that the 2-year pays more than the 10-year. So if the Fed is actually now announced to the public that they are buying that, to the common person, okay, that's fine. What they're really doing is basically infusing money, which will more than likely give a result of a lower interest rate, which then controlling, at minimum, the yield curve to not invert during this next time period. They have vowed in writing that they're going to continue this until mid-year, so that's from now till June. They literally could infuse up to $500 billion into treasury bills to control interest rates, potentially lower, and also shore up interest rates so that they are not a factor in the elections, or in this case, probably the stock market. America, knock on wood, still the best brand out there. Brexit still is a hot mess. I don't know if they're ever going to get out of the European Union. Basically that is lingering over global economies, and China. Just Gary Vestal's opinion, I believe China would sign any piece of paper we put in front of them. They've never been very good at keeping their word on any document that they sign. And so the hard part, I think, with the administration is to enforce that. And politically speaking, he probably doesn't want to get it signed until next summer, because if he signed it too soon, people like all the good of it would be ridiculed. But anyway, inflation. A lot of people always talk about inflation and are scared of that. At the present time, the Federal Reserve is lowering interest rates by, quote unquote, lack of inflationary pressures in the domestic economy. one of the latest numbers last month that the market was kind of up and down. It was reciting that manufacturing was off its number of last year. Honestly, that is not very surprising. And also, manufacturing makes up of less than 7% of the GDP, so it's not a major factor. But when I see all these Boeing Supermax parked and not being sold, when I saw that General Motors was on massive strike, it shouldn't be too shocking to see that that number was slightly off in manufacturing. So the health of the economy seems to be quite well, and I think there is plenty of longevity and prosperity to go forward. As far as politics, I saw several bits. Most pieces of paper were trying to sell you something, so I found something issued by Hartford that is on the second page. Just showed the president how much the market made during their average time period. And that was the most non-sales piece I could find. I'm not endorsing Hartford, although we do offer Hartford products. I just wanted to kind of give you that. That's just a piece of paper given to you to say that the average rate of return during that time period was per that president. It also shows that, hey, we've had two presidents impeached on that piece of program, and both of them did honestly quite well. The Nixon time period, quite honestly, did quite well. The day that they announced his impeachment, the market was actually up. During that proceeding, it was mostly up. There was a oil embargo during that exact time period, and I think history has kind of shown that the oil embargo had more to do with the market being down at the tail end of the Nixon impeachment than it actually was affecting the markets. Of course, we know during Bill Clinton, the economy did quite well. There is almost no administration that had a negative number during the index. It seemed like George Bush actually fared to be one of the worst. It's probably because we had too many wars in a condensed time period. But any questions for me on coaching, market, anything? Last I checked, I talk for a living. Yes, ma'am.
What are Bitcoins?
That's a dangerous little thing. Let's see. Bitcoin is something that was created to be a quote-unquote cryptocurrency that you would have a value on a computer of worth. It started out to be $1,000. And at that point in time, I don't think anyone really envisioned what occurred after that, but it was supposed to be an electronic transfer that you could trade your money without using a bank, without federal regulation, to go from one person to the other and trade value. On its basis, that's what it started out to be. Then it started losing value, that it was less than $1,000. And then sometime about, a year and a half ago, it went to 18,000? 18,000 per Bitcoin. Today, I'm going to guess it's around 8,000-ish. Wow. From a book nerd standpoint, I don't get it. I don't understand. So I'm a bad person to ask. But I know it started out to be $1,000 cryptocurrency that you trade from one person to the other. Normally you think of it as a currency, and it might change because the Mexican peso or the dollar or the pound, they might change. So you would think they would change over time. You don't think that any type of currency would change daily, but it does. And I don't know why anyone would own it. I don't know why anyone would own something that's 8,000, it was always meant to be 1,000. At some point, I always thought it was just a currency for the conspiracy and for the shadowy type of money. That's about as nice as you can put that. Some people do ask me about the currency and everything. There are a couple companies that actually make the technology of being able to track and follow that. And from a computer standpoint, I think it's quite elementary to have something that intelligent. But as far as the Bitcoin, I'm the wrong person to ask. Otherwise, I would say I would stay away. Great question. Anybody else?
Why is Apple buying all this stock back?
Because they have a lot of money, and a company that thinks they're going to go up in value, why not buy the stock back and then they could let it go later. And so very profitable. It seems like every time someone wants to think that, oh, they've done great, but now they're done, they just keep reinventing a profit center. And their newest and latest thing is now they're entering the media through shows and stuff like that. And just like always, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And of course, at first, there's probably going to be some money spent, and therefore earnings might go down because they're spending money. But it takes money to make money. And so once that little doubting moment gets past, it will probably set new highs like it always has. And it's interesting to see that, after the founder left, that the second in command was able to do as good or more better, and that goes to good training, and I think it got
good coaching. Good coaching.
Good coaching. And he was not the standard leader, and he very well could have been a little bit more thought-provoking like that. And like I said, I found that interesting. Just check my clock. It is 12:58, so I think I got about a minute to get Pete back up here and let you adjourn this meeting. As always, any questions, feel free to let me know anytime. And she's right. About 8 years ago, I took all the plaques off the wall and said, everybody know I graduated college, everybody knows I have degrees. And I started decorating my office the way I like it. So you're all welcome to come see us anytime.
You did good, Bill. Got a good program for us. We appreciate it, Gary. Always.